All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thank you for being here. We have a hot Q&A episode for you today. You got the Q's, we got the A's. But before we get into this episode, let's talk about today's sponsor. You know, last week we were sponsored by Stanley Cups. Let's keep the beverage theme going. This week we're sponsored by Fair Dinkum Coffee.
I was going to suggest that.
We're mind melding right here.
I mean, I wasn't going to suggest that. They actually asked to be the sponsor. Sorry, I misspoke.
Okay, makes sense.
You know, this is ironic because we were working out of Fair Dinkum Coffee this morning, and
it's a coffee shop.
It's a coffee shop, and we have had the previous location that this place is now in. They've been on the podcast before.
Let me clarify that real quick.
The building
this is used to be another coffee shop.
And they have been on the podcast before, but in a negative light.
That's right.
We had probably one of the worst experiences we've had in there. And then we go in today, new ownership, new coffee shop, probably the best coffee I have had. It's like the Curb Your Enthusiasm. They have the beans. They have the best beans. The worst Wi-Fi. Like we leave our house every day to go work most days because we have horrible Wi-Fi, and this place had even worse Wi-Fi, and it made me want to cry because I loved the place, I loved the vibe, I loved the decor, the people that were coming in there. There's just a great energy, and then we could barely do anything in there.
It was really bad. We just kept getting disconnected.
And we're going to tell the owner, like, we will spend like $50 a month on coffee in here if you will get
more than that, really.
We'll come in every day and buy coffee and work if you'll get some better Wi-Fi. Anyway.
And also probably suggest to him that they think about the name of the coffee shop too.
Fair dinkum. It's like an Australian term for like good luck or
something like that.
Good fortune.
There's one thing I've learned about business is like you can't confuse people with what your company does just by the name. Like if you owned a gift shop that was called like Soul Searchings, or like you can't when you drive past a place and you're like, I have no idea what that place is or what they do, you've already lost. Fair Dinkum, that doesn't sound like a delicious cup of coffee. Anyway,
but it is a delicious cup of coffee. I highly recommend.
Yeah.
If you happen to be cruising down the streets of Wimberley.
That's right. Stop in for a cup of delicious coffee and slow internet. Before we get to the questions too, we have a really cool announcement. We've decided to do something that we didn't think we were going to do. If you remember, we retired all of our programs other than our custom coaching, training, and nutrition at the end of last year.
Yes.
We've had a lot of people
built, basics.
Those programs. There's always been a demand for our strength program called Built because it's an amazing program. And a lot of people who are custom clients now went through that program. It's just a freaking good program that got a ton of people really great results. So we decided to do a one-time release of it this summer. It's a 12-week program. So we're going to open it up soon. We haven't picked the exact date, but the program is going to run June, July, and August. This is a barbell-based strength training program. It's for people who already have lifting experience. You don't have to be super strong. It actually is better. You're going to get more out of it if you're not super strong. You're going to get super strong doing it. But this isn't for a complete beginner.
Yeah, you have to know how to do like a back squat, a deadlift, a strict press, a bench press, and have done those with a barbell. I mean, we can help you with the form, but if you have never squatted with a barbell, this is not the best place for you to start. That's our point. Yeah.
And to make this even more attractive, we decided to do two other things with this limited release. We're going to create a group model where we create a private community for people who are in this program to kind of form a community around it, to go through this experience together. Your coaches will be in there too, interacting and just providing you support. Everybody knows that like going through something as a group can be super encouraging. So we're going to offer that as a feature of it. And we're also going to offer nutrition guidance at the outset of it. We're going to have you fill out a questionnaire talking about your nutrition, the things that are holding you back and what your goals are. And then we're going to give you recommendations for your nutrition as you go through the program. Like if you're somebody who's interested in tracking macros, we'll give you macro goals to follow through. And we'll even like look at what you're doing now with your nutrition and be like, to get the most out of this program, here's what you should do. And we'll be available for support through the group during that time. This is not going to be the same thing as our one-on-one nutrition coaching where you're getting constant support and access to your coach on a daily basis. But having some component to your nutrition will help you get the most out of this program too. So look for the details of that coming up really soon. But again, it's going to run June, July, August. One other thing I'll say about the timing of it is a lot of people travel this time of year, but we will help you navigate around that, plan a deload for you, talk about how to adjust your workouts based on your vacation schedule.
Go in, just know there is a full deload week. So if there is a vacation that you have scheduled during the summer, like a full on week vacation where we won't have access to your equipment, we can adjust that week for you to be during your vacation week, as long as it's not like week 1. It's not a good time to deload. And we can also help you find ways to do these workouts. Like if you were to be on a vacation and have access to a hotel gym and maybe just some dumbbells or something like that, you don't have to forego the whole 3 months if you're going to be gone for 1 or 2 weeks out of this time frame.
Yep. Typically, anytime we release something like this, we let our email list have first shot at it. So if you're not on our email list, please send us a message through Instagram. Send us an email, Jonathan@digitalbarbell.com.
One more note about the program is it is a 4-day program, and it's best to hit all 4 days to get the most out of this. And it's probably an hour to an hour and a half in the gym per workout, based on how much you are lifting. If you're lifting heavier weights, it takes just longer to build your barbell up to that weight and to get going.
Longer to warm up, longer to rest between sets.
Yeah. So an hour to an hour and a half of workout 4 times a week for 3 months with a deload week in there, and we can help you with vacation schedules.
I'm super excited for this.
Why would you not do it?
Okay, so look for more information on that soon. Yeah. Very soon, because it's already it's a little bit past the middle of May, and we're starting in June. So look alive.
Look alive.
All right, let's get into the Q's so we can deliver the A's.
All right, let's go. Sorry.
What?
I haven't really read through this yet, and I was like, is this the whole one?
Yeah, that's yours. Okay. That's everything.
Will my muscles still saturate with creatine over time if I forget to take it a day or two here or there?
We get a lot of questions about creatine, and for good reason. I mean, it is like one of the only supplements that are worth a darn to take. So before I get into the actual answer, let's just go really high level on creatine if somebody doesn't understand.
I'm going to start a timer. 3, 2, 1.
So we take creatine monohydrate so that our body can convert it into creatine phosphate, which is then stored in our muscles and then in our liver. And what creatine phosphate does is help you turn over your body's energy currency, ATP, faster. It donates part of its molecular structure to your body so that you can keep doing more work in the gym. It's not a pre-workout that gives you a boost of energy. It's something that gradually lets you do more and more work. The reason we supplement with it is because our muscles can naturally hold more than we typically have just on a day-to-day basis from normal life. We get about half of our creatine in our muscles from our diet, and we get the other half just from our body's natural ability to produce it throughout the day. But the problem is, if we just rely on those two things, we're at about 120 grams of storage on average. Since this is stored in your muscles, it's more in muscular people, it's less in less muscular people. But at that 120, our bodies can actually store much more. We just don't get enough from our food and from our natural ability. We can actually top it off closer to like 160 grams for an average person. So that supplementation of 5 grams of creatine monohydrate per day helps fill in that gap. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if you're somebody who's been taking this routinely and keeping topped off, and you miss a day or two there, you're going to be fine because your body already has that natural ability to produce it, and you're getting it from protein in your food too. A general rule of thumb is that a pound-ish of meat, uncooked, has 1 to 2 grams of creatine in it also. Not everybody eats a pound of meat per day, but it just gives you a general...
Chicken, beef,
it varies,
pork.
But that's the range, 1 to 2 grams. So if you're eating animal sources of protein, you're getting creatine in your diet.
Okay.
Now, it's really hard to find if you research, well, how much creatine in your muscles is burned off during a workout. I couldn't find anything in the research that I did, but I can tell you safely that if you're somebody who has been supplementing and you've gotten to the point where you're saturated, taking 1 to 2 days off, unless you like go out and do an ultra marathon or a 4 or 5 hour training session, you're going to replenish back to your natural level. Worst case scenario, the 120 grams just by getting back to your normal life. So it's really something that I wouldn't worry about if you miss a day or two. To be most consistent with your creatine supplementation, just take it at the same time that you do something else in your everyday life too. Like for me, I start every day with my ice shaker bottle full of, water. And that's what I put my creatine into.
And you put a little flavor in there. Yeah.
I'm going to drink that water every day.
But you wouldn't put it in just like a plain glass of water. Probably.
It's kind of gritty unless you have it mixed in with something. Like you could really hide it in a protein shake even better because it has a little bit thicker consistency.
A protein shake or a flavored water of any, like powdered water, whatever, the squirt, you use like those little squirt water things, like anything that you're flavoring your water with. Not that it has a flavor, but like you said, it has a grittiness that will kind of be there if you just drink it with water.
Like sometimes after I drink my first ice shaker of water, like I'll open it up to refill it. I'm like, there's still a little bit of creatine in the bottom. So I do a better job of mixing up my second shaker bottle full. And by the time I finish that one, it's gone.
So even if you are regularly eating animal protein, you should still supplement. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you will not naturally be able to reach the most creatine that you can hold. Just by your without diet. Supplementation, Okay. And everybody's sensitivity to it is different as far as like how much of their capacity they can even reach with supplementation. But it's really not something to worry about micromanaging because it's cheap, it's safe, and it's effective. So
okay, all right, good job. I have a trip coming up,
it's the nicest thing you ever said to me.
I have a trip coming up and I won't have access to a gym. Should I focus on doing more cardio or should I bring bands and do body weight stuff?
Body weight stuffs.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I think it actually depends on what you like, your history, really.
Tell us about your history.
If you are just now beginning to do, muscular strength training in the gym, then I would go ahead and bring bands and continue that process and do band curls, band triceps, band squats, band presses,
and body weight stuff,
and
like
body weight
stuff.
And kind of like look at if you had like your normal like routine and just supplement those things with bands or body weight, and you could get a great workout.
Because it's probably closer to like you can probably replicate the stimulus closer with bands if you're used to, kind of at the beginning of your journey and you're lifting relatively light weights.
Yeah. And if you just haven't had that much time where you have been regularly lifting weights, I think you'd probably find more benefit in doing that. If you have been lifting weights for like a decade or so and you are going to have some time off, I would probably aim toward like doing like longer walks, some cardio, like just getting out into the elements where whatever I'm doing. Like for example, if we're camping, like, and we for some reason can't get our workouts in for like 2 or 3 days, I'm like, I want to make sure I'm getting my steps, getting activity, because that shows that I'm being active all day versus just like doing a quick band pump in the trailer. If I did a quick band pump in the trailer and we've only gotten 3,000 steps, I think after a few days I would feel pretty sluggish. But if we're camping and I can't get a regular workout in, but we can get 10,000 plus steps a day, I'm going to be feeling energized and good.
Yeah. And I would also say, like, look at the nature of the trip that you're going on. They didn't say specifically, but like, let's say you're going to Paris and you're going to end up getting like 20,000 steps worth of walking. No reason to adjust and get extra cardio in. You don't have a gym. Like, bring your bands, get a little bit of a pump across the full body pump across the board. And no harm, no foul.
Back when we used to have to drive back and forth to Idaho, it was a 3-day back-to-back drive, long days in the car, like 12 hours or so each day. We would bring bands and pop into the Airbnb and like, band curls, band tries, like, just do a little, like even a 5-minute band pump, and just felt like we had done something, because during a situation like that, we really didn't have a time to even walk, because we're like, it's nighttime by the time we get to Airbnb, we're ready to like have dinner and reset for the next day. It was not ideal.
It was brutal.
But doing something like that, doing some push-ups, some couch dips and some band curls made us feel like we were doing something.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is good that you're thinking about doing something because, like we've
Yes.
talked about in other episodes, like just keeping the habit alive is half the battle.
Right. But if you did follow a program like Digital Barbell comes to mind, if you followed a Digital Barbell program, you could look at that program. Or, if you had a coach, they would totally convert your workouts to bands for you. But if you didn't have a coach, you could look at those, workouts and convert them to bands or body weight pretty easily.
And just hitting your muscles with some kind of stimulus is plenty to keep you from losing any measurable amount of strength. So don't overstress it. I think a lot of people try to scare you with this stuff, but it's not as serious as people make it out to believe.
All right. I have never done any rowing exercises before with you guys. Before working with you guys, sorry. What are the main advantages to doing them? Rowing.
And they're definitely not talking about a rowing machine.
No, they're talking about all the rows that we do. Bent over rows, dumbbell rows,
I think
band rows.
This is super common because it wasn't really till we dipped our toe in the bodybuilding waters that we started really getting into, all the horizontal pulling, which is essentially what a row is. A pull up is a vertical pull. And even in like strength training, like go to a powerlifting meet, there's no 1 rep max bent over row or pendlay row or dumbbell row, that kind of stuff. It's all these pushing things, squatting, benching, pressing overhead, all this kind of stuff. But with the bodybuilding, you're trying to develop your entire physique and strength across the board. So that's why we discovered the magic of rows.
Yeah.
For me, it's a couple different things. Like, number one, from just the pure vanity and aesthetics point of view, having a big, strong back is just like a hallmark of somebody who works out and who knows what they're doing. Like, you could probably go to a gym and just walk around and like see somebody who only works their chest, only does upper body pushing, for vain reasons. They just want to see their chest bigger or whatever. And it looks weird if you see them from behind and their shoulders are all slumped forward. They have no development of their upper back and lats.
No butt.
A pancake butt. So yeah, that's the vanity side of it. But there's a huge payoff in having a developed back, both from the muscular standpoint and the strength. Also, like, one of the reasons that we want to strength training and build muscle as we age is to keep our metabolism healthy, to have that lean body mass that burns calories and helps us fight off dependence and sarcopenia and all that kind of stuff. Well, like, you got a lot of muscles on the backside of your body too. You can carry a lot of muscle mass.
I was going to say, not to mention your posture, affecting your posture. The more rowing that you do, the more you're going to be able to pull your shoulders back and get into a nice posture.
That's
versus
like one
being
of the
slumped forward like we are on keyboards and phones these days.
It's like it counteracts all the slumped over posture we do using our phones and stuff. Is having the muscles on your rear delts and your traps and your lats that actually pull your shoulders back. I'm demonstrating on the YouTube if you're not watching, into that proper posture position. It's amazing to see in our clients' progress pictures how much their posture improves with all the things we do, like rows and face pulls and reverse flies and deadlifts and all that kind of stuff. So another benefit of it is to, like, that proper posture position changes the anatomy of your shoulder joint and can just relieve so much pain that people end up with from being in that slumped over position. Their cervical spine, the fronts of their shoulders, their bicep tendons. Shoulders back is the way that your shoulders are supposed to be to work the most efficiently.
Yeah.
So I think that hits the highlights. Like, we want to look well developed all around. We want the muscle mass so that we get all the metabolic and strength benefits out of that. We want healthy posture. We want healthy joints. And I guess the last thing is, like, working your back with single arm dumbbell rows, lat pull downs, pendlay rows, all those different row variations. It's a supplement to your other exercises that you do. You want to get your deadlift stronger, get your upper back stronger. You want to get better at pull-ups, get your lats stronger.
Even
There's a
your
huge
cleans.
spillover. Cleans,
We wrote a program that was a pop-up on our website. Now it's just like, you can go to the Digital Barbell website under our free stuff. And if you are like a CrossFitter, we have 9 exercises that are very beneficial for you to add into your program. And there's some like programming that you can follow. But this was one of the main ones for these reasons, because it does have so much crossover to your pull-up strength, to your power clean strength, to your deadlifting strength, any of your pulling exercises, you're going to really see, and I've seen personally, and your push-ups, like I've seen so much more strength carry over from doing these type of things regularly when I do CrossFit exercises now.
Amen.
All right.
We'll put a link to that program in the show notes for this. Do that, producer.
All right. I like this one. I'm doing Murph for the first time this month! ! Any tips for preparing?
This was sent in by somebody who's not a member, but obviously they're a CrossFitter.
Yeah, I love it. So,
why don't you explain what Murph is?
Murph
in case somebody
is
doesn't
a
know.
workout that honors those who have served for our country.
Michael Murphy.
Yes, well, it's named after Michael Murphy,
Right.
but we do it. Like we being like I think I don't know where the actual tradition of this started.
Yeah.
I know it from going to CrossFit gyms.
Right.
It's like since we've been in CrossFit since 2009, we've been doing this workout Murph.
Yeah.
And it honors those who have fought for our country, and it's most commonly done on a holiday like Memorial Day.
Yeah.
It's a very tough, grueling workout, but that is the point, is to like put yourself through something because of like the sacrifices that other people have made for you to live the life you live.
Yeah.
Like as you're doing these type of workouts, you're like, okay, I can withstand this hurt that I'm feeling in my body because these other people have like given their life for me to live the life I live. Anyway, so that's why we do this. But the workout is a mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then another mile run. So as you can
And the prescribed
here
version is with a weight vest.
It's like a 45 to an hour plus minute workout. It's not easy. But it's a lot of fun. I do miss this at the gym. It was just so much fun. People were very excited to do this.
Yeah.
It's just a great experience. But, I've been sneaking in some extra volume for our clients, whether they're going to do this or not. I'm going to offer it up for everybody to do around Memorial Day weekend. But they've been sneakily getting in some volume in their push-ups, their pull-ups, and even practicing rounds of another CrossFit workout called Cindy, where you do 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats, and you just do that. I've been having them do it 5 to 7 times. Some people have actually been asking me, why are we doing this? And this is to prepare for Murph. So if you haven't already been doing this kind of stuff, I mean, we're nearing in, so it's probably too late to start your preparation right now, but we can talk about kind of tips for doing the actual workout.
And let me throw one other thing in here that there's a lot of ways to scale this workout down too. And that's totally fine. That's
the
point is to make it hard for wherever your ability is.
Yeah. So if this is your first time doing it, and you're going to go into someone else's gym, I would definitely listen to your coach, because I had a lot of people that wanted to bring friends and let them be like, okay, they're going to come do Murph. And if this is a person that's never done this type of volume before, as you heard, it's a lot of volume. It's 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, plus 2 miles of running. So there's a half Murph and there's a quarter Murph option.
Smurf.
So if you have not done this before and you haven't been doing a lot of volume in your workouts, then I would go ahead and start with a half and not wear any kind of weight on your body. Just go through the motions. You're going to get a lot out of it just by doing this. So you do a half mile, and then you would half the reps in the middle. Also, you can do this part. The middle part can be partitioned anyway. So you don't have to do all 100 pull-ups in a row and then all 200 push-ups. The most common way to partition it is to do the 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, and do this times 20 rounds. And this just allows you to get a little bit of rest to your muscles as you're transitioning from the pull-up, push-up to the air squat, because that is the hard part. I've done it all the different ways, partitions with the vest. I've done
Different
it
partitions.
different ways, and that is the hardest combination. Is if you're just trying to get through those 200 push-ups. That was the hardest part for me. 200 push-ups in a row.
Because once they go.
They go. A pull-up, you can do a few, shake it down, you're frustrated, walk around. Pull-up, you're just laying in your sweat.
Push up.
On the ground, push up for a long time. And so if you can partition it, 5, 10, 15, that's the way to do it. And whether you're doing the full or the half or even the quarter, partitioning it, and it's easier to count like that too. Just 5, 10, 15 times 20 rounds or 10 rounds or however many rounds you're going to do.
Yep. So bottom line is all the stuff that prepares you for Murph is done in the months leading up to it. And the Murph is just your time to show it off.
But
So
it's cool. And I recommend that anybody who has access to it and can, and is healthy enough to do it. Like I said, I mean, every year that I do it, I'm very like in that mindset of like, I'm just, you know, it gives you this hour to just like focus on like, this is hard, but people do way harder things than this for the life that I'm able to lead. And it's an amazing time to like think about stuff like that.
what's your best Murph time?
I think I've done it in like that 43-minute range.
That sounds right.
Which,
And that was with a vest.
No, that was not with the vest. That was at a Village a long time ago. I once was a coach at another gym, and I did not expect this to happen, but I beat the entire gym. I was like so excited. I was like, I beat everybody. I couldn't believe it.
I think I have a picture of you doing it. No, that picture you were not wearing the vest yet. You've done it with the vest.
Oh yeah,
since
I've
then.
done it with the vest,
Yeah.
and I've done it like with like without the vest, non-partitioned, and with the vest, non-partitioned, and partitioned. I've done it like every combination you can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are you gonna do it this year?
Yeah.
Me too.
I don't know how I'm gonna do it yet though.
I'm not gonna wear a vest. That's all I know
Last time
so
we
far.
did it here at this gym, I did it partitioned.
Right. Yeah. God, we're gonna do it here.
We had a bunch
Are
of-
we gonna do it in the air conditioning here in the office this time?
Yeah, no, I think we should do it outside. All right.
All right. Moving on.
I have a hard time doing sit-ups unless my feet are held down under something. Is this okay?
We call those anchored
Well,
sit-ups.
I think like if you're beginning to do stuff like sit-ups, that's a different kind of sit-up. Like it's like I can picture someone like
You know what this
feet
reminds
under
me
the
of?
couch, or like
The presidential
the
fitness
presidential
test.
fitness test where your friend is holding down your feet. That's the kind of sit-ups I'm picturing.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell your little.
No, I don't want to tell the story.
Tell your story. Come on, you have to now. He has a funny story about the presidential fitness test. This is like that test you did as like a grade schooler, where it's like chin over bar hang, mile run time, and how many sit-ups can you do in a minute.
But I remember the story, but
I
I can't actually remember who was the one doing the sit-ups. Now.
You
Was
were the
it
one
me?
doing the
Okay.
sit-ups, and
So my friend, well, I don't remember what grade I was in. Obviously, this was a long time ago, but he's holding my feet. I'm getting after it. I think it was like max reps in a minute
yeah,
or something
max reps
like
in
that.
a certain amount of time.
I'm getting after it. You know, I get through the thing. Some things had happened during my reps.
What was your score?
Some bodily functions, and so you finish it up, and the PE teacher goes around the room. The person who holds the feet down yells out how many reps they counted, and my guy was like 57 and 2 farts. And yeah, I think I had the high score for both categories.
Oh my goodness.
Okay,
All right.
should we still answer this question,
I
or
think
should we
so.
move on to
I
the
think
next
we
one?
should still answer it. Okay.
So this question is it okay to do them like that?
So when you put your feet under an anchor, you're kind of changing the sit up. So I like you end up using a lot more hips, your hip flexors to pull you up if you're using an anchor.
Yeah, the front of your hips where
Then-
you hinge over.
Than your abs, actually, if your feet are held down like that. So if you're unable to do sit-ups without your feet being anchored, I mean, like we always vary the sit-up options that we have. We do anchored sit-ups, regular sit-ups, in and outs, bar hanging, leg raises,
Yeah.
planks, and that definitely, like, that's the thing, is to vary your ab exercises. But I would mix in some things like supported in and outs so that you can, or in crunches, so that you can start to work your abs, because these anchored sit-ups are going to be using a lot more hips than you think that they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to be developing the abs that you're trying to create to make yourself be able to do sit-up without an anchor.
Here's a little experiment you can try at home. Don't do this if you're driving, but just stand there, or if you're sitting in a chair, put your hand on the front
your
of
hand on
put
your
your
hip.
hand on your hip. When you dip, I dip. And now with your palm on the front of your hip, just lift your leg up, and you can feel that muscle fires. You're hinging at the hip.
I just put my hand on this hip and I lifted my other leg. I was like, not working. It's crazy.
Good body awareness. So if you think about your leg being anchored in that sit up,
Yeah.
that's probably what's going to happen, is you're just going to flex at the hip. But the point of the sit up is also to flex the spine so that you contract the muscles on the front of your spine, your abs, so you work those. So like this is why crunches are effective too, because you're curling the
Yeah.
spine up and you're not flexing the hip at all. On a traditional setup, you can't really get the power from the hip because there's nothing holding your foot down. So you end up rolling your spine a little bit more, which gives you a better stimulus
And
on the front of your
this is what
abs.
I feel about GHD sit-ups. It's like such a hip flexor movement, most of it, until you get like well over like parallel, and then you're starting to use your abs to crunch the rest of the way up, or unless you're like weighted and holding something. That's why I ended up selling our GHD, because I was like, this is not a good ab exercise for me personally. It was hurting my hips too much to do those because of how much hip was involved to get yourself upright.
So it's okay to do them. It's just not quite the stimulus as a non-anchored sit-up.
For example, I have them in the workout next week. I think they're great. But if you're still working to do a sit-up without an anchor, I would start to mix in more crunches and more scaled in and outs, and then eventually in and outs instead of just anchored sit-ups, so that you can start to work the abs a little bit more. A perfect example of this is that women are generally faster at sit-ups than men. From my experience of coaching people, like you'll be going through a workout and the women would always finish the sit-up set and faster than the men. Same thing with Jonathan. I can do sit-ups way faster than him. If we do anchored sit-ups, he can crush me because I have very weak like hip flexors are constantly irritated and fired up and angry at me. And when I do anchored sit-ups, my hips slow me down.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's my proof.
All right, last one. I always hear that you should eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. But for me, that's 185 grams. It seems like a lot since I'm trying to lose weight. Please help.
This was sent in by a female. She did not say how tall she was, but I think this is a common thing. You use the calculators. I mean, we have a macronutrient calculator on our website, and there's limitations of it. And this is one of them. If you're somebody who has a significant amount of weight to lose, just plugging that into your current weight can set your protein at a number that, number one, seems like impossible to eat. Plus, when you're thinking about this from a fat loss perspective, we're already talking about bringing your calories down into a calorie deficit. You got a super high protein goal, not a lot of calories to work with. Doesn't leave you a lot of calories left for carbohydrates and fat, which means low compliance over the long term. And you're not going to just like have lean protein breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, if you're trying to get, there's 4 calories per gram of protein. So I didn't do the calculation on this, but 185 times 4 is like, I don't know, 700 and something calories
and protein.
Just of protein alone. So it makes sense. So in general, I would say there's no reason for a female, regardless of their current weight or their goal to lose fat, to set their protein goal much above the range of 150 to 175. You get the benefit.
That didn't make sense what you just said.
There's no reason for a woman to set their goal.
So don't go above 150 or 175,
right? That's
regardless of your weight.
Right.
If your weight is over
that's
that
the
number.
cap.
Yeah.
I mean, if you weigh 250 pounds and you have 120 pounds or 100 pounds to lose, you're still good between 150 and 100. Okay. You're getting all the benefits of protein at that point, both from like the satiety standpoint, the adherence standpoint, and the muscle building and preservation standpoint. For guys, I would set that limit between 200 and 225 grams of protein per day, regardless of what the calculator says or what your current body weight is. Another rule of thumb I've seen thrown out there is to take your height in centimeters and try to eat that many grams of protein per day. That's why I said I didn't know how tall this woman was. You'd have to get on the Google machine and see what your height converts to in centimeters. But it's going to be lower than the gram per pound rule in general. Again, let's just like recap. What is the point?
I like the cap though. That's a good rule of thumb. It's just like if you can eat between 150 and 175, cap it there and because
we know that somewhere between 30 and 50 grams of protein in a meal maximizes the benefits of protein in that meal. So if we're getting 3 to 4 feedings of protein per day, we're getting all the benefit from it, and you're going to be full enough eating that much protein per day. You're just going to give up if you're trying to shoot for 185. I'm talking about from a female perspective. 185 grams of protein, forget it. Like you're good enough between 150 and 175. And dudes, no matter how big you are, between 200 and 225.
Okay. All right.
Drop the mic.
Good job.
Anything else before we wrap this Q&A up?
I don't think so.
Let's mention real quick the effort that you and me have been putting into the YouTube channel lately. You might be watching this on YouTube right now. We published an episode of 5 Minutes with Kristen, one of our clients on YouTube today. We got more 5 Minute with episodes in the hopper. We're going to be recording an episode that'll come out in the future about the healthiest options to eat at gas stations
Roadside
when you're
snacks.
on a road trip.
Yep.
Coming up soon. We're really putting a lot of effort into it. So if you
We
guys
just released one about our personal budget for food. How much do we spend a month on eating pretty much everything that we eat, we cook at home.
Except for coffee.
Except for coffee.
No, we talked about how much we spend at restaurants and all that stuff.
So we talked about like how much average we spend a month on food, cooking our own food, and eating out in restaurants and grabbing coffee.
So if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's really easy to remember. YouTube.com/digital barbell.
That made that sound really lame. It's a really cool video about breaking down the cost of like what it costs to eat healthy. That made it sound like, oh, we're just giving our personal budget out there. But the point of it was like breaking down the barrier of like people saying it costs too much to make our own food. I'd rather pick up from restaurants. So we broke down like the price of our breakfast, the price of our lunch, the price of a dinner, and compared it to getting food, even the cheaper food out in the world.
Yeah, we compared it to Chick-fil-A, Chipotle.
Don't give it all away. I'll just tell you that our breakfast costs 88 cents. So
yeah, beat that. That's cheaper than this can of Monster that I'm drinking right here. That's pretty crazy. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions for future episodes, feel free to send us a message on any of the socials. You guys have a good day.